Hey everyone, Bowling with the Fef back here at AMF Southtown, Bloomington, Minnesota for the PBA50 World Series of Bowling here with the great Walter Ray Williams Jr. You were out there today bowling in the Ballard Championship. Tell us what happened out there, what you saw, what the experience was like.
Well, the experience for me was not very good. So I had shoulder surgery last year, and so I've been kind of slowly recuperating from that, and I did bowl some tournaments in March, and I did bowl the tournament at the Villages a couple weeks ago, and I managed to get a super senior check there. And my mobility for my right arm's not quite what I'd like it to be, but when I got here, it seemed to be a little better. On the practice session yesterday, I was like, I felt like I could throw the ball pretty firm, which is usually a good thing on the shorter pattern like that. And I like to play the outside line, but sometimes the pattern is a little tricky because it like hooks and doesn't hook, and then it's like you could go high by going left or right. It's a little frustrating, but this morning I started out okay, but my spare shooting's been kind of marginal, and I missed a couple spares, and then I got about game 4, all of a sudden my wrist and my hand started hurting, and I'm like, it was quite painful. It's like I actually stopped once or twice, and I'm like, wow, this is not good. And I kind of figured out if I didn't have a high backswing that it didn't hurt so much, so I started throwing the ball a lot slower. And I, shot like 180 the last game, and it's like, okay. And I thought, I'm not ready to quit yet. So tonight I thought, I'm going to use an axe, which it's a ball that doesn't hook very much, and so I'm throwing the ball pretty slow. And the first game I shot 250. I'm like, this is going to be fun. And the next game I had like 51 in the fifth. I had 3 splits and a strike, and I missed a spare, and I'm like, really? And then I finally got a few strikes, and then in the 10th frame I left the 10 pin and missed it. I'm like, awesome. So, and then after that it wasn't a whole lot better. I just missed a few spares. My spare shooting definitely suffered a lot more. I could sort of get the ball to the pocket at times, but the last couple of games I actually went the ball that hooked a lot, and that was probably not the best play, but I thought, I just trying something. And I shot like 2-0 the last game with another missed spare. So, but there's a lot of good players out here, and I'm not quite 100%, but I'm still definitely disappointed on how I performed. Especially missing spares. It's like all of a sudden my spare release is kind of messing me up, and I thought I kind of had it fixed when I got here, but when I had to slow down, that really put a wrinkle in it. So.
Yeah. Did you ever consider going to a different way of delivering the ball, two-handed, left-handed, anything like that?
I'm not that good left-handed, and two-handed. I really haven't tried two-handed since I had my surgery. So, and two-handed would make no sense. Throwing a ball really slow with more revs, that's like the absolute worst thing you could do on a pattern like this. Like I said, I was already throwing the ball slow, and if I went to that, it would even be slower and more hook, and that's just the absolute worst thing you want to do. And I actually left all of my two-handed balls at home. I thought if I really, really needed to, I could drill something out here, but I really wasn't planning to do that. And unfortunately, I'm probably, after this tournament finishes, I'm probably going to go home and probably won't bowl the Senior Open. So I might go back out to Vegas. They got the Super Senior Classic and the Senior Masters, but unfortunately, probably going to really curtail my activities on the Senior Tour. Unfortunately, fighting the injuries, and I don't want to be scratching to try to get a check. That just doesn't make sense.
Yeah. And shoulder surgeries are no joke. I mean, I've been around that.
Yeah, this one they said, it takes a while. Some guys say it's a year or two, and it hasn't been a year yet. And I can throw the ball, but I just, up until yesterday, I really wasn't throwing it very firm. And yesterday in practice, I actually kind of liked what I was doing, but apparently my wrist and hand didn't like that. So just fun getting old.
Yeah, for sure. But yet, you're still trying. You're still out here in the World Series. Do you see yourself keeping on with this the whole event through?
Well, we've got 2 more days, but I have to bowl extremely well to get any farther than that. And I unfortunately, I don't see that happening. I'm hoping I can sneak out a check. That would be kind of the best scenario. But yeah, definitely disappointing. Today I thought would be one of the better chances for me to get a check, and I wasn't even close. So.
What are some of the differences you see in the fields now in the PBA 50? I mean, we're getting guys that are throwing two-handed, that are a little more powerful than maybe in the past.
Well, see, it's every year the newer guys coming on get a little better, and there's still plenty of guys that are over 60 that can still bowl pretty well. So, unfortunately, I'm not sure I'm one of them anymore.
Yeah. What would you say is your favorite memory from the PBA 50?
Well, obviously, anytime you win a tournament, but the guys out here are pretty friendly, and meeting a lot of these guys and getting to know a bunch of them. I have a good time with them. Hopefully they have a good time with me. So.
It's a different vibe than it is in the kids tour, because
the younger players, the regular tour. I mean, those guys they're trying to make a living at it. Out here, you got a couple guys that are trying to make some serious money, but it's not. Nobody's trying to make a living at it. It's supplement their income maybe, but most of these guys are doing it because they love to compete, and they maybe didn't have the opportunity earlier, and so it's nice to see all that and all these competitive guys. And I love to compete, but I'm also a professional bowler, and it doesn't make sense for me to bowl and not get paid.
Sure. I heard you talking with some of the other guys about some of the earlier years that you were, bowling in the early 80s and things like that. There have been so many changes in the game, and you've really rolled with the punches in all of them. What's that been like for you, inside in your heart, to see so many transformations in bowling and know what it is today versus what it was when you started out?
Well, I think that's part of bowling. It's not just one thing. There's a lot to bowling. It's not one dimensional. It's for me, it was always learning to play different parts of the lane, first arrow, fifth arrow, whatever. Either learn how to hook the ball a little bit, not that I could hook the ball like the kids, but hook the ball, play straighter, that. So there's all that part of it, and then I did eventually learn how to bowl two-handed. I'm decent at it. I've got a few 300 games doing it, but I don't throw the ball like the kids do, or the younger guys, I should say. Even high school kids throw it way better than I do two-handed, but I managed to do all right, because normally I have a pretty good idea how lanes are playing and that kind of stuff, but you still have to execute, and that's where today with my performance was really bad, but my execution's just not what it needs to be.
It's also a game of matching up now.
A little bit, but the thing is, the better players, they figure out what to do, and they do the right things. A lot of guys use that. I think they use that as an excuse that they didn't match up. And the reality is your better bowlers are going to figure out what to do. Now, they're not going to bowl great every week. That's part of bowling. It's the different patterns can definitely have influence on the types of players. But for me, it was always go out there, figure out what to do, and do it.
Yeah. Should there be a Walter Ray Williams pattern?
The PBA asked me quite a few years ago about that, and I said, well, let me design it. And they said no. I said, don't put my name on it then. Pretty simple.
Fair enough. Yeah. Do you follow the national tour a lot these days?
I watch them, yeah. I know. I still know a few of the guys. I'm getting to know less of the guys, but I've actually met. It's kind of funny. One kid, Riley Woodard, I've actually bowled with him in one of my last doubles tournament. They had an over/under tournament down in Houston, and he agreed to be my partner. So, and I know Dio, and I bowled with Dio the year before. We won that tournament, but he bowled with his dad. He normally bowls with his dad, and I was looking for a partner because my partner, we had won the year before that, Michael Holloman, and he's normally a non-PBA member, and he had won. He would need to join the PBA and didn't want to do that to bowl with me. So I'm like, okay. So I was looking for a partner, and Rick, Dio's dad, said, do you want to bowl Dio? I said, yeah, I'll do that. What are you going to do? He said, well, we'll get a partner and we'll beat you. I said, okay, good luck. and then of course this last, or well, the next year they actually bowled together again. And then unfortunately that tournament might have been where I kind of hurt myself initially, but it wasn't right away, but it was, you know, I noticed my shoulder kind of bothered me after that tournament, and then a couple months later, in bowling in league, it's like, oh, that really, really, really hurt, and that's, you know.
Kind of where we're at. Yeah. What about horseshoes? Do you still do that?
I still play horseshoes. We just had the state horseshoe tournament down in Florida. Unfortunately, there's not as many horseshoe players as there used to be, and I'm decent. I'm pretty good, but nothing compared to what I was when I was world champion. But I'm still pretty good. I did win the state tournament. I've won it every year I played in it. But and that's what's really kind of odd is I actually compete left-handed in horseshoes. Unfortunately, my right arm in horseshoes, kind of like my bowling was today, it wasn't cooperating very well. So, and when I was young, I broke my finger, broke my wrist. I learned how to play left-handed. So, it wasn't I was decent because I did play it. I had done it, and over the years when my right-handed average started getting lower and lower and lower, and I was getting really, really, really frustrated. I thought, maybe if I play left-handed, I could do almost as good, and I'd probably have more fun. So I did that, and I actually played better the next 2 years than the previous 2 years playing right-handed, which was kind of amazing. And then over the years, it was off and on, left-handed, right-handed, left-handed, right-handed, and then the last couple of years, it's been mainly left-handed, especially after the surgery. I was actually trying to play right-handed to kind of loosen up the shoulder a little bit, but my left hand's definitely better than my right arm right now. So.
You are one of the folks in the bowling community that I've noticed have really embraced social media. You do live videos. Maybe that's just my perspective being an outsider, but tell me about that. Why do you, why are you
trying to
active?
do that, but unfortunately, because I'm old and I'm not as successful as younger guys, I don't have quite the following that they do. But I get a few people that like to watch. That's kind of nice, but I don't have a huge following or anything. But I try to keep them entertained. So.
Yeah. What about the future? Do you, if you decide, okay, that's it for the senior tour, I'm gonna cut back, will you still be involved in bowling other than bowling leagues and local tournaments?
Yeah, it's hard. I'm not sure what I'm going to be doing in the future. Like I said, I consider myself a professional bowler. That's how I always made my living, through bowling. And I do like to compete, but like I said, it doesn't make any sense for me to try to scratch for a check. That doesn't make any sense. So I actually, on the way up here, I did a bunch of clinics and stuff. So I might do that a little bit more. And then it's just a matter of, figuring out what I want to do, pick and choose tournaments more than anything. Like I said, I do like to compete, but I also want to be competitive.
For sure. Those clinics, and I happened to pipe in on one of your live streams and mention that you did one by me several years ago in Eau Claire, Wisconsin.
Oh yeah.
Tell me about what it means for you to have people come out and learn from you and kind of tap into your experiences and wisdom in this game.
Well, it's obviously nice to know that people are willing to have me look at them, and I'm like, I don't consider myself to be the best coach, but I think I got a pretty good eye about as far as timing, and to me that's like the biggest thing. To me, about 90% of the amateur bowlers could use better timing. To me, that's a good, solid basis. I've been involved with some other big clinics and stuff where you get you might have 50 people involved, and you might get 6 or 8 pros or something like that. But the thing is, they only spend like 5 minutes on the lanes with each person, and it just, to me, it's not enough time to really to help them with that good solid basis like that. They give them some good tips and stuff on how to maybe improve their game, but I see a lot more by having, I do these really small clinics. It's only 4 people for like less than 2 hours, and I try to spend about 20 minutes with everybody, and then show them some other stuff, and then that way I can show them a video of what they're doing and show them what I'd like to see them do. And I got a couple of tricks that I think work pretty well with trying to get people to get their timing better, and that to me is what I like to see. And then I've had lots of compliments on it. I've had a couple people complain about it, that I didn't spend enough time with them, but can't please everybody. I know that.
Sure. When I ask this, I'm probably asking this for a lot of the people who bowl like I do, who don't have all the power of the modern game that you see a lot of the time, and of the two-handers. Can bowlers that don't swing the lane, that play straighter, still have a place in this sport and a competitive place in this sport?
I mean, the game has definitely become a lot more of a power game, especially on the top tier level, and that's, so there is that. It doesn't mean somebody started throwing a ball kind of like I do, 30 years ago, did that today. Doesn't mean it wouldn't work at all, but it would be at a disadvantage a lot of times, but there are other times it would be okay. It's hard to say if I, in my prime, my 30s and 40s and stuff, was trying to bowl on the national tour, how successful I would actually be. But there was a time in the tour, where, the rev rates were getting higher and higher, and I would play parts of the lane these other guys wouldn't even want to play. But there was also about a 15-year period where guys would not use urethane, and so they couldn't play where I wanted to play. They felt like they had to hook the whole lane to score, and it kind of gave me a little advantage to be able to play the pattern more the way it was designed to play, I guess. But then nowadays, the guys are using urethane and balls that go a lot straighter, and they're able to take advantage of how to play the lane properly. They develop a really high rev rate, and which, like I said, has become more of a power game. But they're also very accurate. The guys on tour do not get enough credit. They're very, very, very good. I hear all the time, I see on Facebook guys post about, they're getting, the lanes are way too easy on the national tour, and I'm like, go shoe up, see if you can average 200. Those guys are very, very good, and they don't get near enough credit. Everybody thinks they're bowling on house shots. They're not bowling on house shots. It's kind of a shame that our bowling industry doesn't, recognize the top players as well as they do. It's kind of frustrating. I have all the respect for the young players, but I also don't agree with a lot of the urethane rules that they've made. I think that's bogus. To me, there's no real legitimate reasons for that. My personal opinion on that.
Yeah, for sure. Well, hey, thank you so much for the time. I'm really glad we got to chat here, and best of luck the rest of the way.
Well, thank you. Like I said, I'm going to need some serious stuff going on, but it is what it is, and hope you guys all have a good time.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Thank you for watching Bowling with the Pfeff. Pound the like button and subscribe button. It's the easiest way to support the channel, and it's free. Bowling with the Pfeff is brought to you by Chip Magnet. Raise your snack standards.
Bullwinkle's in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, the official bowling center of Bowling with the Pfeff. Jerry's Score More Pro Shop, the Eau Claire area's leader in bowling products and services since 1988, and Visionary Video Hub, video with impact.
Email bowlingwiththepfeff@yahoo.com with questions or to appear on the show. You can also reach out on your favorite social media platform.